if rental property, if you're considering rental property, right? And last week we talked about when do I know it's right for me?
Right. And the why.
And the why, right? Well, now we need to talk about a model. And you're like, right when I say model, what do you think that means? What's the first thing that comes to your head when I say you need a real estate model to even think about it?
So when I think about the model, I think about what I'm going to use to evaluate whether or not a specific piece of property is going to work for me, or evaluate the way that I'm going to get into owning rental property.
Okay, so there's two kinds of models. Now, there's certainly more than one way to evaluate it financially. So the two kinds of models I'm talking about today are a personal model and then a financial evaluation model, which there are many of, which we'll talk about next week.
And people have been studying this property investing reals for thousands of years, probably ever since we could own property. So there's a lot of resources in a lot of different ways. But I love the way you talked about this personal model because you've been through this already.
Yeah, so personal model, people are like, what do you mean by a personal model? Well, let's just talk about what goes into what type of property you're going to choose.
Right.
This is really what it is. And when I say the type, it also means where it is.
Right. You don't want it too far away. You don't want it 45 minutes to an hour away.
Yeah, some people use, let's just talk about location.
Yeah.
Some people use, hey, it's got to be in between home and work.
Right.
Well, now with people working from home so much,
right.
Now it's maybe only certain drive time from my house, right? For me, that's 20, 25 minutes. I'm really not interested in a 45-minute drive.
And that's why I like you call it so personal, because I've done loans for people in California that wanted to invest in property in St. Louis and that bought a home here. They used a management company.
They used
completely
a management
different
company.
Model.
Right. But my personal model is I'm going to manage it myself.
Right.
And so it has to be in a drive time that works for me. Mm-hmm. For you, it just may be, hey, I need, again, back to the why. If I need cash flow and I need it now and I want a really big one, I'm going to look at a different location probably than Baldwin or Chesterfield. I'm probably going to look North County, the city. Talk about cash flow.
Right.
So where your why plus the personal model that meets that goal is really important.
I think this would be really interesting, and you're so kind to do this, but you recently bought a piece of rental property, and you did a lot of research. Why don't you just talk to us a little bit about the research that you did before? You said you looked at a lot of dogs.
Yeah, we did.
You could see stuff online, you went to look at some. And then what were some of the, let's say, non-negotiables, the things that were essential to you?
Yes, so my personal model included a location that was within 25-minute drive time from my house. I really preferred the Baldwin area because appreciation was one of my goals. I'm like, Baldwin is one of the faster appreciating areas, and it's one of the faster appreciating rental areas. So appreciation was really, really important to me.
Right. So
25 minutes, great appreciation area because I'm interested in generational wealth.
Right.
Okay. Number 3, I decided that I wanted a minimum 3-bedroom.
Right.
So for you, you might be looking at a multifamily, and those might only be 1-bedrooms or 2-bedrooms.
Right.
Some people only invest in a 2-bedroom multifamilies or 1-bedroom. That's fine, right? But this is what I'm saying by the personal model. It had to have more than one bath. Mm-hmm. It had to have an attached garage. I didn't want one without a garage. It had to be in a good neighborhood, and the neighbors had to be good around it. And this is something I discovered.
When you say good around, the condition of the homes,
the conditions
around,
of the
knock
home,
on the door and meet the neighbors.
No, the condition, people are,
Right.
It's not junkies, not trashy. People aren't leaving, stuff laying all over. There's not a car, parked on the lawn. Not interested in that area. That's my personal model. Some people are like, man, if it cash flows, I don't care who's parking on the lawn next door, right?
Yeah.
So that could be your personal model. I need you to think through this. So here's another thing I discovered, Glenn.
Yeah.
When we were looking at homes, so I drug my husband.
Right.
To look at.
So that's another part of your personal model. John's got to be in on it.
John's got to be in on it, right? So we both had to agree that that we were going to buy this rental property. So I drug him to a bunch of them, probably 10 or 12. I looked at much more online, and that's a model of like how many you look online, how many you look in person to find the one, right? And so I drug him through a few dogs. So some that needed a remodel from head to toe, and I mean
got a great term
gut
this.
job, a gut job.
Homes that were abused.
Homes that were abused. That's right.
Yeah.
And I mean seriously abused. And so we walked through it.
And,
we saw the potential.
But that wasn't for you.
We saw that it needed $100,000 worth of work, and we were like, you know what? That doesn't really fit our personal model. I don't think we're interested in a seriously abused house that I have to put $100,000 in to get it rentable.
And you know what? I have a friend of mine, Jim, who's a master carpenter. Those are the houses he likes because he can buy them. He can buy them really cheap. He can take his own time and his labor when he's not in between projects, and he can devote it to that. So it's not for everyone. That's why I love this so personal. The other thing that I love about your house, and this is interesting, I never thought about this. Your house had to have a patio with no deck.
Right. So I discovered along the way here after dragging John through many houses, and some only needed maybe 30 or 50 grand worth of improvement, which that's easy for us. We have a great concierge program, a great vendor network that we have for our clients as well. It wouldn't have been too hard for me to do, but he wasn't interested. And so when I took him through a house that had not been abused, it had been gingerly cared for. Right. It was an older lady who had passed, and she kept up on her home, and it was spotless. It wasn't high-end update, but it was cared for. And when John walked into that house, he was like, I want this house. I was like, oh, finally, the Dillman model is a house that has not been seriously abused.
And to be clear, you did some work on it. You did some painting. You
we placed an electrical panel. Right? You know, we rotor-rooted out the kitchen sink drain. You know, we had it inspected. And so we knew some of the things we needed to upgrade. Upgraded 2 bedrooms carpeting, and we did some painting. So there were things that we did do to it, but they weren't major. Right. But it was a very well cared for home. The foundation was in pristine condition. And I realized after even owning it that I would prefer a patio over a deck.
So here's a question I got for you, because it's so great that you're open to sharing this. How do you know where you're going to start is what you're going to ask for rental of that home? Is there a schedule somewhere?
Well, first of all, we got to get through this model. We're going to talk about that next week. There are places to look for how much you're going to get. It's part of evaluating, which is the evaluation model we'll get into next week.
So this was
right now, this was evaluating whether the house itself was even worthy of consideration. So if it was in St. Charles and 45 minutes away, I'm probably not buying it. Right. Not yet, not at this point. Right now. So my personal model had 3 bedrooms, more than 1 bath, had to have the garage, preferred the patio over the deck, had to be not abused, had to be cared for, right? It had to be in a location that was at 25 minutes or less from my home. That's a personal model. Had to be a single family. I was really not interested in multifamily. And I'll tell you why. To me, single family was an easier, to me, is an easier rental.
For you.
For me, in my
friend Eric, and he started out with multifamily when he was a young man, and it's worked great for him. You know, they hired the maintenance company and all that. So again, that's why I like this. It's so personal.
It is so personal. So if you're looking at 4 families and you've got 4 units, now I'm always trying to rent out. I probably got a vacant unit at one. You know, I've got 4 units to rent. I got 1 door to rent out on a single, and that fits my lifestyle. Right. So that's why it becomes part of my personal model. You know, the fixer-upper portion of it, how much you're going to fix up, plays into whether you want to do that Burr method. Use somebody's hard money. Got to find one that needs enough improvement to make it worth more to refinance it out of the hard money. So
and on that, you're making your money when you buy the house on that one, because you're buying it at such a low value.
And this wasn't, I'm going to Airbnb it either, right? So if you're going to Airbnb, or maybe you want to use it personally, you've got to come up with a personal model for location, number of bedrooms, number of baths. I know guys that only buy 3-bedroom, 1-bath homes. They only buy 3 bedrooms, going to have 1 bath. For me, it's got to have more than 1 bath. Okay, so personal model versus financial evaluation. I think you have to get from your why to the what, and then go to financial model.
Okay.
Right? And so to me, and it's worked out great. We've been thrilled with it. It's a quiet street.
You had to have some idea what kind of price range you were looking at for that. I mean, you
did.
Weren't looking at $800,000
so here's my
$80,000.
Okay, so my preference is something between 200 and 300 grand.
Right.
I really don't want to buy a house for $350,000 if I can help it. That's just where I settled after I started looking and walking through and realizing what things would rent for. And I'll tell you what another thing is really important in my personal model is the type of renter I'm going to attract.
Okay.
So the financial position of the renter was important to me. And I think that Baldwin area with great schools and all that stuff is going to, in a good family neighborhood, is probably going to attract some really good tenants who will care for the home.
Yeah, right.
So I'm looking for somebody who's not going to beat it up and financially stable. Right? And so, and I'm also looking for a city or a county that won't beat up on me too bad. So I'm like, I probably would not go to certain cities who are brutal on occupancy inspection. It wouldn't fit my model.
Right.
But it might for you.
Right. Because I maybe have experience on that. How long?
What's your model?
My model is my children. My model is a legacy. I'm not big into rent. I had a bad experience when I was younger man.
Living office experiences.
Yes, and I didn't. It just doesn't interest me. I mean, I like when I'm in real estate. 8 hours a day. When I'm not in working, I want to be away from it. I love my home. I like the animals. I like the music. But I do have 2 of them that I bought to help my children, and I'll probably buy a third for my third child. So
see, so his model is what will work for my kids.
Yes, yeah.
That's a personal model.
Exactly.
Right? Yep. And so, it might play into it for you, an area that you think is really going to go up. Like we talked about speculating around the NGA or something. I don't know if I'll do that, although I'm thinking about it. I'm going to talk to John about it and see if I can get him there. But if we don't both get there, we're probably not going to do it.
How long did the process take you on the one that you had from I decided I really want to get in this to I found the house and I've got the tenant? What did that time frame
about 8 months.
8 months, yeah.
To find the right one that he would buy. I probably would have bought some others. But when he walked through that one, I went, ding, ding. Personal Dillman model is well cared for home. Yeah. Got it. And that's what I look for now. And I pass on to investors, other investors, ones that don't fit my model. Yeah, I look at them all the time. I have searches set up or whatever. Josh looks all the time, our buyer's agent. Aaron looks all the time. So we pass them on to people whose model they fit. So please come up with your why. Right? Because it matters on what you buy.
And I think even before we look at the rental analysis, depreciation, all that stuff, the idea that your personal model, everybody should adopt that. Because if you're forcing yourself and you're not comfortable with it, it's not going to be a good experience.
Well, then you get drug around everywhere. Hey, I heard something in Jefferson County. Hey, I heard something in North County. Hey, I heard something in the city. And you're drug everywhere. You never.
Or you have a bad experience. And to be fair. It is a risk and reward, and there's risk involved. And if you're not smart about this, you can lose money.
And part of your last piece of your personal model is the cash needed.
Right.
Right. Yeah, so the cash needed.
Get $1 million. First step one, get $1 million. Right.
So the cash needed. That's what we're going to evaluate.
I'm excited about that because really, when we talk about it's not a lot of cash, and the one I like is the house hacking, and we'll get into that later. But there's ways to get into it. I take my first house. And I say, that's rental property.
And I keep it.
And I keep it, and I'm going to go buy another one. Right.
So there's ways to do it, but the cash needed is part of your personal model, and that's different for everybody.
Heck yeah. And this is more fun than I thought it was going to be.
Oh yeah, I think it's super fun. And once you land on your model, it's very exciting, and then you filter all the white noise out, and you can get really focused on something. Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed today, because we are here to help you build wealth,
live your dream lifestyle,
and leave legacies that matter. So hit the subscribe, share, like. I'm Angela Dillman here with Keller Williams Realty Chesterfield. This is my wealth building partner,
Glenn Calvin at Gill Mortgage.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week when we look at some financial models. Okay, see you then.